there's a man, alone, not scrolling, not smiling, not signaling for attention like a stray dog on a dopamine leash. His phone's face down, his eyes sharp, still, like a blade that remembers war. He's not lonely, he's lethal, because he doesn't need you, not your praise, not your pity, not your blue-check blessings, not your validation theater. And that rattles the world. Because in a world built to feed off your hunger, the man with no appetite is the predator, not the prey. He's the one who doesn't flinch when he's unfollowed, doesn't beg when he's unseen, doesn't perform when no one's clapping. He's seen something, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. If this hits you in the chest like truth, finally getting through your armor, Darkside Demeanor. Don't just watch, join the rebellion. Truth number 1. You've been lied to, brother. From the cradle to the comments section, every app, every billboard, every coach with capped teeth and plastic truths, whispering one hypnotic phrase: you're not enough, not alone, not yet. They don't sell products. They sell identity crises, manufactured voids you're told to fill with followers. But validation? That's the cartel now. And you're the customer who never stops fiending. Hit after hit, swipe after swipe. Hearts. Dead dopamine for rented belonging. But what if you said no? No to the algorithm. No to the likes as worth. No to the invisible leash around your neck. What if you stopped chasing their ghost currency and sat, really sat, in the silence they fear? Because here's the truth. No one prints on merch. The man who needs nothing cannot be broken. He's the one who disappears from the feed and reappears in legend. Stoic shift. 2 ghosts walk beside you. One wore a crown. The other wore madness like a crown. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled the world, but only ever tried to rule himself. He sat alone in candlelight, writing to no one but the man he was trying to become. He didn't tweet. He wrote meditations, a war journal against his own ego. He whispered to the void, all cruelty springs from weakness. Now, Nietzsche, the mad priest of raw thought, the one who stared into the abyss until it blinked. He said, the individual must fight not to be drowned by the tribe. And most men, they've already drowned. They never even felt it happen. Their thoughts are copies of copies, beliefs inherited like hand-me-down lies. They live someone else's life, in someone else's cage, calling it freedom, because the walls are Wi-Fi enabled. But solitude, real solitude, that's not silence. That's blood sport. You versus every voice in your head that isn't truly yours, and only those who bleed in that ring emerge, reborn. So let me ask you this, quietly. When was the last time you heard your own voice, without the volume of the crowd? Because the man who hears himself becomes himself, and the man who becomes himself becomes a threat. Now we go deeper, but only if you're ready. Most won't make it past this point. That's why they stay safe and soft. But if you're still here, you're not most. You're becoming one of us. Darkside Demeanor. Let's keep going. Ever sit in a room, just you? No noise, no music, no glow of your screen to distract you from yourself? Just silence, raw, naked, unforgiving, a mirror with no filter. Most men don't make it past 2 minutes. You know why? Because silence doesn't lie. It shows you what you are. Without the costume, that buzzing panic you feel, that's withdrawal. You've been overdosing on distraction since age 12. You've been spoon-fed TikTok anesthesia and Spotify sedation, until the sound of your own thoughts feels like gunfire in a church. But the man who doesn't run, the man who stays seated, while the demons crawl out from the shadows. He learns. He sharpens. He becomes something ancient. He doesn't flinch when he's ghosted. He doesn't chase soft hands that never held him right. He doesn't drown himself in the noise, begging to be seen by people who never learned to see themselves. Because he's already seen it. The void. And he didn't blink. He sat across from his shame at 3:14 a.m. and stared it down until it broke first. Most men outsource their minds. They wear rented thoughts, prepackaged beliefs bought off Amazon with next-day shipping. But you're not most men. You're here, right now, remembering what it feels like to feel. And that scares them. Because a man who isn't addicted to noise is a man who can't be sold. And if they can't sell you, they can't own you. Tell me this, brother. What's one belief you've been carrying, like a tattoo under the skin, that you never even chose? One story you were born into, but never dared rewrite. Is it love has to hurt? That you're not a man until you suffer in silence? That your worth is in your work, not your wounds? Write it. Out loud. Bleed it out in the comments if you've got the guts. Or click away, like every other ghost still clinging to comfort. But know this. The moment you name the lie, it starts dying. Keep chasing validation, and you'll age like glass. Clear, brittle, pretending to shine. Cracking from pressure no one else can see. You'll date people who mirror your wounds, not your worth. You'll beg for attention through passive posts and dead-eyed selfies with hashtags that scream, "Please love me." You'll work jobs that grind your soul for salaries that can't buy silence. You'll live for weekends, then dread Monday, like a man waiting for his own execution. And the worst part? You'll die long before you're buried, not from time, but from a soul that starved to death in plain sight. Because no one told you. The man who needs nothing can't be bought, can't be swayed, can't be shaped by lust or likes or leverage. He's not a player in their game. He is the glitch, the bug in the system that whispers, no. They can't shame him, because he's already befriended his darkness. They can't tempt him, because he doesn't thirst for what they flaunt. He's a walking contradiction in a world of clones, a free man in a city of slaves. And here's the final paradox. He didn't find peace in a yoga pose, or a podcast, or some guru selling secrets behind a paywall. He found it in the scream of silence, in the choice to sit with pain until pain bowed its head. You feel that? That little shift in your spine, that weight in your chest? That's your real self knocking, not the version they trained, the one buried beneath approval addiction, fake smiles and unspoken rage. Let it out, let it speak, let it rise. Darkside Demeanor. We don't chase freedom, we become it. So how do you take it back? Your mind, your manhood, your name, not the one they gave you, the one you lost somewhere between fitting in and fading out. You start with solitude, but not that fake monk shut, not lighting candles and pretending stillness when your soul's still screaming. I mean raw, cold, solitude that strips the paint off your personality and shows you what's underneath. Just you, and the mirror that doesn't lie. No music, no memes, no motivational quotes from dudes who cry on podcasts. Just you, staring into the void of your own silence and watching it stare back. This isn't Zen. This is blood work. You versus your patterns. You versus that scared kid still running the show. You versus the mask you forgot was a mask. And every time you sit in that trench alone, you sharpen. Marcus Aurelius wasn't journaling. He was self-surgery. Every night, carving out weakness like rot from bone. What did I want today that I didn't need? That's not a quote. That's an X-ray of your soul. You write that down tonight. You'll feel your spine realign. Because once you start separating your wants from your worth, you start becoming someone else. Not louder, just clearer. Powerful in the way that silence is powerful. Heavy, final, undeniable. That's what they fear. A man who knows himself. Because a man like that can't be seduced, bought, bullied, or bent. The 4 pillars. Here's the blueprint. The bones of the man they can't control. 1. Radical self-honesty. You don't just tell the truth. You rip the lies out by the root. No more half-truths in your head. No more calling fear, caution, or weakness empathy. You look in the mirror and say exactly what you see, even if it hurts, especially when it hurts. 2. Value independence. You stop renting your beliefs. No more inherited guilt from dead relatives. No more obeying traditions that never served your soul. Your morality becomes earned, not taught, built, through fire, yours alone. 3. Emotional self-sufficiency. You feel the storm, but you don't ask anyone to hold the umbrella. You stop weaponizing your sadness to get attention. You hold your own chaos like a man grips steel. You cry if you must, but never for pity, and never in chains. 4. Intellectual courage. You think the unspeakable. You ask the questions that make polite society squirm. You dismantle your mind like a watchmaker, gear by gear, until every thought clicks with clarity. And then, you rebuild, not smarter, wiser. Because wisdom isn't knowledge. It's survival with scars. That's what makes you dangerous. Not your muscles, not your bank account, not your alpha bark on YouTube comments, but this, that you can stand, quiet, and still be the loudest thing in the room. The price. But don't get it twisted. This path ain't free. It's a crucifixion of your past self. You will lose people. They won't understand why you've changed, why you're quieter, why you don't laugh at the same tired jokes, why you look at your phone like it's a leash. Friends will ghost you, not because you hurt them, but because your growth reminded them they're still stuck. Family. Some will call you arrogant, cold, disconnected. But here's the truth. They miss the version of you that needed them, the version that performed, the version that smiled through fake peace just to make everyone else feel okay. And when you stop playing that role, you don't just walk away. You disappear from their system. You become a ghost in the herd, a man outside the algorithm, a glitch they can't debug. They'll label you antisocial, disconnected, too intense, too deep. But that's the cost of waking up. You stop dancing for claps and start moving like a weapon, because once you no longer need to be understood, you become someone they can't control. Not with guilt, not with sex, not with shame. A man who builds himself alone, owns himself forever. And in a world of plastic men, that's power, real, untouchable, eternal, Darkside Demeanor. We don't escape the matrix. We burn it from the inside. Still here? You're one of us. Let's keep going. Why they fear you, reborn. You think they want you happy? Nah, they want you hungry, salivating for attention, addicted to approval, a lab rat pressing the dopamine lever again and again and again. They want you numb, but wired, tired, but scrolling, alive, but only enough to consume. Because a man who's content, he's not swiping, not spending, not sold. He's a broken algorithm. You start sitting alone in silence long enough, and your mind starts sparking in ways they can't track. No ads to plug into that. No metrics for a man who's finally off the grid, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You think governments want free thinkers? They want voters who cheer when told. You think brands want secure men? They want broken boys in $800 sneakers with fragile egos and credit card debt. You think your ex wants you healed? She wants the version of you who begged. You sitting there, back straight, eyes still, phone off. That's not peace to them. That's a threat. They don't fear loud men. They fear the quiet ones, the ones who ghosted the culture, the ones who don't argue online, because they've already made peace with losing the crowd. That's why they'll call you antisocial, detached, cold. But the truth, you've just unplugged from the circus, and the clowns can't take it. Modern Stoic. Ritual for the dangerous. Here's your ritual. But don't treat this like self-help. This is combat prep for your mind. Start with 10 minutes. No phone, no sound, no dopamine drip. Let the silence stretch its arms and slap you in the face. Let the anxiety crawl up your spine. Let the boredom roar until it breaks. Now breathe, because boredom isn't emptiness. It's buried potential. Tapping the glass. Then, nightly review. Like a soldier cleaning blood from his blade. Ask, where did I chase today? Who did I shrink for? What truth did I swallow to stay liked? Don't lie. This ain't a diary. It's a confession booth with no priest. Next, interrogate normal. If it feels automatic, pause. If everyone agrees with it, question harder. Most of what's called normal is just dressed up dysfunction. Build your code, not your dad's, not your favorite influencers, yours. Tested in silence, forged in discomfort, written in scars. Then walk, create, read weird shit, stare at walls, find art in silence, train your boredom until it becomes meditation. And the final piece? Starve the need, not forever, but long enough to remember your worth has nothing to do with response rates. Do this, and something shifts. The silence that once screamed starts to sound sacred, like a voice you forgot, but somehow still recognize. And then it happens. You stop craving people, and suddenly they start craving you. You become a black hole of presence. Not loud, not flashy, but still, undeniably felt. You enter rooms like a question mark wrapped in calm. You're not chasing love anymore. You're choosing it. You're not auditioning for attention. You're too busy radiating your own gravity. You don't flirt. You exist. And that's enough. You stop over-explaining. You start saying less. And somehow, every word hits harder. You don't need applause, so your silence starts getting it. You don't beg for loyalty, so the right ones offer it, freely. That's the paradox. The man who wants no one becomes the one everyone wants. But here's the catch. You're not here for their craving. You're not playing the game anymore. You've seen too much, felt too much, bled too much, and now, you're not asking for a seat at their table. You're building your own. One stone of solitude at a time. Darkside Demeanor. Stay seated in your silence, brother. That's where the power grows, and the world starts to whisper your name, while you no longer need to answer. You're here to become whole, alone, unshaken, complete. Because a man who walks through fire by himself walks different, talks different, breathes different. He doesn't ask for the world's respect. He demands it by existing. So if this cracked something open in you, you're one of us now. Click subscribe. Join the brotherhood. This is Darkside Demeanor. You've been warned. Now choose, subscribe, or go back to sleep.